So I just had a very interesting conversation with someone that just passed a phone screen with Amazon for a senior solutions architect role. And the very interesting bit of this conversation was that he said, "Hey, Dan, I was asked a question, a rather simple question, apparently. What's your favorite leadership principle?" And I thought this was, a very easy question. But I didn't come up with the best possible answer here. So I would like to understand why this was the case. So of course, I asked him, "Okay, but how did you go about answering this question?" And he said, "Yeah, well, at first I thought, what are Amazon's 14 leadership principles? Because I studied them a lot and I knew them quite well. Then I thought, what would be the favorite leadership principle that I wanted to talk about here?" And I felt a particular connection with have backbone, disagree, and commit. For some reason, I like this leadership principle a lot, right? And then after deciding that what was my best leadership principle, I thought of a story to communicate a behavior that's exhibited in have backbone, disagree, and commit. And I felt it was a so-so answer. It wasn't my best answer by any means. I mean, compared to the question, I expected this to be a very easy question to allow me to advertise myself. If you'll notice here, he followed multiple steps even before thinking about a story to this question, because in case you're wondering, this is a behavioral question. So when someone asks you what's your favorite leadership principle or core value or whatever, they ask you for a situation where you exhibited that behavior, right? So notice the multiple steps, thinking about the principles, think about the best principle, and only then thinking about the story. A better approach here, in my opinion, would be, what if you thought a bit in reverse? What's your best story that you have? What's your main highlight in your career, right? This would actually be your best story, and we all prepare stories for these behavioral questions. Now, what if you just start talking about your story, and what if you only worried about the leadership principle after, while speaking out your answer? Do you think there's a possibility that your main highlight in your career couldn't fit into one of those leadership principles? I would argue there's no risk here, right? And in fact, what he ended up doing when I told him this, he told me about his most interesting invention that he had. He had some patent pending script or whatever. And it was clear to me it was invent and simplify it. It was clear to him it was, and the quality of the story was, the best, because it was his best story. So why wouldn't you go in reverse? Why not thinking about the best possible story that you have and only worry afterwards which leadership principle does it fit in, because it will fit into a leadership principle. And if this doesn't only apply to technical roles, but also to sales roles. Like if you had a major sale, it will be about customer obsession, trust me. Or it could be about ownership, or it's impossible not to make your story fit into a leadership principle if you want it to. But the main thing about scoring high in a behavioral interview is to have the best possible quality of your story in the first place. So, long story short, this is how you go about answering what's your favorite leadership principle. You think about what's your best story, and then you fit it into what would be the most interesting leadership principle to showcase here. And you could mention it while speaking your answer here. So there you go. I hope you found this information useful, and thank you very much for watching.